Should I do a master's abroad right away? Or should I wait for a few years and then go for an MBA later? This is honestly one of the most common questions that I get, and also the most confusing ones. So today I'm going to break it down properly, covering everything: the differences, the cost, the careers, the salaries. And by the end of it, you would have a clear framework to make a decision by yourself. But before that, if you're seeing me for the first time, hi, I'm Pratham. I'm currently working at the CEO's office at Revolut in London. And before that, I did my master's in management at London Business School and bachelor's from IIT Bombay. And in my third year, I was exactly where you are right now. And I made the decision of doing master's in management. So in this video, I want to share everything that I considered before making that decision. So let's get into it. In my third year, I had applied for a semester exchange to France. Everything was confirmed. I was ready to go, but because of some personal reasons, I couldn't go at the last moment. I was really disappointed, but it made one thing very clear in my head. I wanted to go abroad and live that life. So I actually started researching options, and that's when I came across Masters in Management. And the question came up immediately: should I just do this now, or should I wait and do an MBA? For me, the decision was actually pretty clear. I really didn't want to spend 3 to 4 years working in India just to become eligible for an MBA, especially when I wasn't even sure I wanted to work in the Indian market. I'd done a few internships, jobs, got a feel for the culture, and I knew I wanted to work abroad. I wanted to start my career internationally. And more than anything, I wanted to do it at 21, 22, in my prime, when I could take risks, try things, fail at something, and still get back up. Not at 28, 29, when there's a pressure of home loans, marriage, responsibilities, where the risk just feels completely different. So for me, MIM was the clear choice, but that doesn't mean it's the right choice for everyone. So let me break it all down properly. Let's start with the basics. A master's in management, or MIM, is usually a 1 year program. It's designed for people who are fresh graduates or have under 2 years of experience. It covers the fundamentals of business, strategy, marketing, finance, accounting, and makes you market ready for entry level roles across the industry. It's not just masters in management. There are specializations too. So MS in finance, MS in marketing, international business, and so on. So you have options depending on what direction you want to go. An MBA, on the other hand, is usually a 2 year program designed for people with 3 to 4 years or more years of experience. It's for people who want to make a career switch, move into entrepreneurship, or accelerate into leadership and senior roles. The curriculum goes much deeper with topics like strategic thinking, leadership, complex business problems, because the people in the room are coming with serious real world experience already. So at a basic level, MIM is your fast track entry into the global job market, whereas MBA is your step up into the leadership after we have built some experience. Now let's go one by one. One, who should do it? Here's the simple rule I would give anyone. If you have under 2 years of experience, ideally a fresh graduate, and going abroad right away is important to you, a master's makes a lot of sense. You get into the international market early, you build your career there, and you do it at an age where you can afford to take that risk. But also you can still choose to do an MBA if you feel like you want to start your career in the Indian market, get some solid experience, and then go for an MBA later with full clarity. That is fair as well. Whereas if you have more than 3 years of experience, MBA is the better move. The roles you get after an MBA are mid to senior level, and that makes sense because you're coming in with the experience to back it up. Doing an MBA with zero experience or doing a master's when you already have 5 years of experience behind you, both are slightly misaligned and you won't get the full value out of either. 2. Money. This is where a lot of people don't think carefully enough. For a master's in management at a good school, you're looking at roughly 30,000 to 65,000 USD in tuition. My fees at LBS itself was around 68,000 USD. So if you're targeting top schools like LBS, HEC Paris, Chicago Both, ESSEC, budget for that higher end. Also, of course, this fees will depend a lot on the location, like whether it's US or Europe, which we'll cover in the later videos. But for simplicity, we can take these numbers for comparison. Whereas for an MBA in a good college, whether it's Europe or the US, you're looking at $100,000 to 200,000 US dollars. That's almost double or triple the cost of a master's. And this is something I feel strongly about. I was okay taking on the risk of around 65,000 US dollars, which also was through a loan because my family couldn't have funded it. But once I got a job here, it was manageable. But a loan of $200,000 at an age of 28 with other responsibilities building up in life, that's a different kind of pressure. Also, one more thing, for both MIM and MBA, there are scholarships available, and that can definitely ease out the process for you. But you shouldn't make a decision thinking you'll 100% get the scholarship. So cost is not just a number, it's about when in your life you're taking on that cost and what your personal situation looks like at that point. Third, career and salaries. After a master's in management, you're looking at entry-level roles across finance, consulting, IB, marketing. Basically, you have access to the most industries at entry level. Whereas after an MBA, you are coming in at mid to senior managerial roles across the same industries. In terms of salaries, after MIM from a top school, average salaries are roughly from 60,000 USD to around 120,000 USD. Whereas for an MBA, it usually goes from 120,000 USD to 200,000 USD. But of course, the higher end is usually for the US schools. Whereas for European schools, it stands somewhere in between. But here's the thing I really want you to understand before you compare these numbers. You cannot compare MIM and MBA salaries directly. It's not an apple to apple comparison. The average age coming out of an MIM is 23. The average age coming out of an MBA is 28, 29. Of course, someone at 29 is going to earn more than someone at 23. That's how careers work, right? And here's what most people miss. If you do a master's at 23, work hard, get promoted, stay in the international market, by the time you're 28, 29, there is a very high chance you would be earning similar to the MBA guy at the same age, right? But one thing I want to be honest about, these salary numbers are averages. They don't reflect the large number of people who don't get a job in the market and they have to go back. So please factor in that thing before you make that decision, right? So you have to be at the top of your class to make your space here in this job market. 4, classroom experience. In MIM, you cover the fundamentals: marketing, finance, accounting, strategy. And then in some colleges, you can go deeper through electives. And here's something genuinely great about it. Those electives, you can take them alongside MBA and executive MBA students. These are people with 5, 10, and even 20 years of experience, sitting in the same room as them, working on the cases with them, building a network with them at 22. That's something you really cannot put a price on. For an MBA, the curriculum is more advanced since everyone is coming in with real experience already. The professors spend little time on the basics and then they go deeper into leadership and strategy, which is exactly what these students need, right? And MBA also provides you great opportunity to meet people from different fields if you want to switch or if you want to build a startup. But in terms of making you market ready for your relevant stage, both programs do that job very well. 5th, global recognition. Because MBA is so well known, a lot of people ask, is Masters in Management even worth it? And honestly, my answer is yes. MIM is especially strong in Europe. Schools like LBS, HEC Paris, ESSEC, companies recognize and hire from these programs. And it's a very well established degree in the European market. And it's now also growing in the US. So Chicago Both, Kellogg, Duke, University of Michigan have all launched their MIM programs. So the recognition is expanding. Also, my friends from LBS are now in investment banking, consulting. So Bain, BCG, JP Morgan, they are all across the world. So opportunities are real. But of course, given MBA has a history of over 100 years, so they are globally well recognized compared to MIM, which is predominantly more famous in Europe itself. Okay, so let me bring this all together into a clear framework for you. 1. Experience under 2 years, do masters. Over 2 to 3 years, do MBA. Simple starting point. 2. Cost. MIM is roughly $30,000 to $65,000, whereas MBA is $100,000 to $200,000. Think about when in your life you're taking on that financial risk and whether that makes sense for your situation. 3. Do you want to work abroad or in India? If you want to start your career in the Indian market, get some solid experience, and then go for an MBA later with full clarity, that is completely valid path. But if you don't want to spend 3 to 4 years working somewhere where you're not really excited and you're just doing to be eligible for an MBA, then a master's makes more sense. 4. Location. If you're aiming for Europe or UK, MIM is very strong there. But if you're planning for US, then doing a MBA makes more sense, right? 5. Age and life stage. Going at 22 versus going at 28, 29 is genuinely different life decision. Think about what risk you're comfortable taking at each stage and what responsibilities you're likely to have by the time the MBA route comes around, right? And at the end of the day, both paths can work. It's about which one aligns with where you are right now and where you want to go. And that's it for today. If you have any question, please drop them in the comments. And I hope to see you in the next one.